What is up, everybody, and welcome to my review of 2025's I Know What You Did Last Summer. So, this takes place 27 years after the events of the murders at Southport back in 1997, and we follow a new group of characters who are off to see the 4th of July fireworks, and they cause this accident with a guy driving off the road, potentially killing him. And of course, 1 year later, they all get these anonymous messages from somebody who clearly knew what they did last summer. So I'll start off with the positives, and I will say, bringing back a couple of the old characters and reliving what they went through, combining it with what our new characters are going through, kind of made it a bit of an interesting whodunit, but a bit of that nostalgic vibe. Had we delved into that a little bit more throughout the film, especially around that maybe the second to third act, it would have made for a much more interesting film. But the little bit that we do get, I think, was actually done quite well, or a little bit well. Moving on to the mixed, and for what it's calling as a legacy sequel, I felt there was almost nothing combining from the original films trying to put it into this one. And it's a shame for those people who grew up watching the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then for newcomers, because you want to have that combination for people who are coming into this franchise for the first time, but then also people who grew up watching those films. And yeah, it just felt like there was almost nothing to really call this a legacy sequel. You may as well have just called this a modern remake, just the same movie, but just taking on a modern look. And that's really what this felt like. Moving on to the negatives, and the writing in here is just absolutely dreadful. Like, I mean, the writing and the characters in the original film were really nothing to write home about either, but at least the characters in the original movie, at least you could relate to them. You know, at least they felt like human beings. Here, there is really no way to relate to them. Like, you bring along this fifth character in the movie, and I'm not kidding, like, there's a scene where they look at they see her and like, oh my god, is that Stevie? Well, we used to be friends, but then her dad couldn't afford her college funds. We had this falling out. Oh my god, Stevie, are those your friends? Well, they used to be my friends, but they had this falling out because my dad couldn't afford my college fund, so I couldn't go to college like them. It literally plays out like that. And then, so it feels painfully obvious who the killer is going to be within that first, like, 10 minutes of the film. Like, clearly, if it's going to be one of these five people, it probably is going to be. And then once the accident actually occurs, Stevie is the one who absolutely bonker freaks out, going, oh my god, it's got my life back together, and now this is really going to fuck it up again. It's like, well, if anyone's actually going to be the killer, it's probably going to be her. You know, I'm trying to make this as spoiler-free as I can, because probably in the next few days I will do a spoiler talk on the problems that I have with the movie, from the writing to especially the third act and the revealing of the killer, just making it so painfully obvious. There are probably some people who saw this movie that didn't think it was that obvious who the killer was going to be. But going back onto the original film, even though that movie back in 1997, watching that wasn't great, at least it threw in a bit of suspense of it not making it so painfully obvious of who the killer was going to be from the very beginning. Like, you know, it didn't make it as painfully obvious there. This one just makes it so obvious of who it's going to be. Like, And there are a couple of characters in the movie you think, oh, it could be them or it could be them. And it's like, but a couple of the other characters just act so weird that it clearly can't be one of them, you know? So, guys, honestly, I did not like this film. I mean, is it like one of the worst movies I've seen? No, I've seen much worse films, but this is definitely one of the worst horror films of the year for me, one of the worst movies of the year. So, yeah, I'm gonna give I Know What You Did Last Summer a D minus. Just I just had a painful experience trying to sit through this movie. Honestly, this movie made me actually appreciate those other two original films much more than this one. So, guys, movies may be good, movies may be bad, but I review them anyways. Peace.